Why do we get angry? We can look at this from many perspectives, but one particular that I like is that every time we feel an invasion of our personal space, then we get angry, or rather experience the sensation of anger. So this is quite obvious when someone gets into our physical personal space. If we feel attacked, someone gets up real close, and maybe are even threatening us, then we can experience anger towards this person. Or maybe a little further from us, our personal space could be our home. So if someone breaks in, we can feel anger. Maybe not immediately, we get scared, but at some point we felt this was an invasion to our personal space and anger arises. But we can also feel anger if our emotional or mental personal space gets invaded as well. For example, if it can even be our own child who we don't want to do anything but unconditionally love, and still when this little person starts crying at a not so good time for us, we feel we can take that as a personal attack even. Like, how can you do this to me right now? I need to sleep. Please be quiet. We cannot accept it. So anger comes up. And then we have a mental personal space. Sometimes we make the whole world into our maybe cannot really divide these mental, emotional and physical spaces. They are of course linked. But if we hear about, so we make a mental story because we haven't been there, that for example someone is taking down rainforest on the other side of the globe, then we can get angry because we're making this in our personal space. This shouldn't happen. And in this case it's the whole world. Can also be a little closer, like we hear maybe someone we consider our friend is lying about us. So this is not accepted in our mental personal space. So we feel anger again. Anger is, of course, not a bad thing. Not a good thing either, I guess. But if we feel that anger becomes repetitive or maybe even constant or continuous, and we don't like it, this can be a good way to start examining. Okay, did I make a border here on my personal space that was invaded, so I feel anger, but do I need to keep this border? Do I need to be this strict? But often it feels like, oh, if I let go of this part, let's take the rainforest example, then it means that if I accept the destruction of rainforest, that means I'm condoning it. And my point here is that is not the same. It becomes a very black and white way of looking at things. But if we take a step back and we can just accept the event for itself, that it's happening, if it is, maybe we just heard about it, so we just accept that we heard it first of all. And then we can see, okay, at what point does the anger come up? And do I really know for sure that it's a good or a bad thing? Because usually I consider something bad, or when I do, then I get angry. And unfortunately, I'm talking to this part of us that actually wants to be angry. The unfortunate part is that whatever we see in the other, if we get angry about it, it's something we are not accepting in ourselves. Maybe you heard this before about we are projecting our own insecurities and things we don't like about ourselves. And it sometimes can be very, very direct. Like for me, I was getting upset about this rainforest stuff, but then a while back I was looking at a map, or on Google Earth, and pretty much every country I zoomed in on had taken down their forest, or at least I imagined so, because it was just farmland everywhere. So then it's like, oh, I'm getting angry at this other country for destroying forest when they have the most forest of any of us, because we have already taken it down. Or in, I guess my case, in Sweden here, we still have a lot of forest, but still most of it is farmed. So what this rainforest is representing for me is this wild nature. It's expression of how nature should or can be. And then I can also see it more as a metaphor, because this rainforest is representing this or our and the Earth's natural ability to flourish, instead of someone coming in bulldozing it and maybe just putting up these palm tree for palm oil and become very structured and rigid, and it doesn't feel nice. But then I can see this as a metaphor and see in me where I, so many cases, don't let myself be this natural, wild, flourishing human being. Instead I take down, I demolish these wild aspects and become structured and put things in order and plan for the future to make profit for myself. And if I can instead accept these parts of myself and and just, in this case, live my life as a natural human being with wild parts and many different parts, then what people do on the other side of the globe, let alone in the house next to me, becomes not very important. And if I can let myself be, then it becomes very easy to let other people be as well. Of course, there can still be a lot of anger, because we often have a lot of stored up, a lot of anger that hasn't been entirely felt. At least I was an expert in this. I tried for about, I don't know, 20 to 25 years to suppress anger. I didn't like it, and I didn't think it had any value, and I became so good, so then I didn't think I even had any anger in me. And as it turns out, all this stored up anger that sometimes can come up in bursts, or it becomes like a base layer of constant anger, or it's suppressed so we don't feel it, whatever the case may be. It turns out we don't have to direct it at someone. At least this was my fear. Okay, if I need to be angry, then I will cause destruction. But it turned out that me suppressing it was causing all the distraction to myself. I ended up in a severe burnout. So if we can see that we feel all this anger, or it keeps building perhaps when we make all these borders of our personal space and all the things we cannot accept, when we start letting go of those and can understand them perhaps a bit better, takes a certain level of awareness and definitely honesty. Then we can start feeling the sensation of anger itself. Not necessarily a step-by-step process. It can happen in many ways. It can be instant or very dynamic, non-linear or linear, apparently, or appearing, linear. But then we can just feel the anger, and it may take expression, but then it's not towards something, and it's not destroying something, even though it may look like that. It's difficult to explain, but in my case, most of the time it just ended up being energy that needed to be felt, and then it transmuted. I wasn't even seeing it as anger at some point, and then that's when it's released, and I got totally different experience of choice when I was not affected, when this was not weighing me down anymore. Then I can get triggered again, and the process starts over again, of course.